Hello everybody and welcome back to another Prehistoric Kingdom dev diary. I know I haven't showcased update 14 yet, but I might do a little showcase at some point because it is a very big update, but I really have not had a lot of time lately to set it up and all. Anyway, what's in this dev diary? Well, they go on to initially talk about the release of update 14 and a few other things such as their new Crowny plushie that they are releasing. So get one while you can. But this dev diary largely focuses on update 15, our next update, and what it will contain. So let's get into it. So the primary goal for update 15 is to expand the animal behaviours, building upon the herding and social groups that were just introduced in update 14, with the first of these goals being to make animals look at each other with head IK, greatly improving the sense of realism in shared spaces. So you can see that going on here in a very cool habitat that's been designed here to resemble Hell Creek, with a T-Rex looking across the little river here at a herd of Triceratops of multiple ages that you can now do with update 14. So next, the devs can often see feedback wishing that PK's animals would interact with each other. Currently, all species coexist in complete harmony, but this has never been the long-term goal. For this next update, they'd like to build upon Update 14's animal awareness systems and support the foundation of combat and two important behaviours, fleeing and threat displays. Fleeing, as you might imagine, forces an animal to run away when scared. Threatening, however, uses a new animation to show an animal firmly standing its ground against a predator or a rival. Combined with the angry vocalizations from Update 14, it is hopefully going to get a bit of dynamism out of animal encounters. Sorry, that was a bit tricky there. Now, beyond scaring away potential predators, threatened animations will be especially useful for socially competitive animals like the Triceratops, giving them a way to challenge the herd leader and influence their social hierarchy. This is another feature that is going to be a major factor in the next update too, social hierarchy, and how different animals will compete with one another for the status of alpha. Less competitive animals like Tyrannosaurus, however, will passively establish their hierarchy in the background, opting for whoever is the largest. Paleoflora is a new gameplay mechanic that aims to reward players for using foliage from the correct geological era. Typically, this boils down to using Cenozoic plants for mammals and the brand new Mesozoic plants for dinosaurs. So you can see here a beautiful habitat with our remodeled Torvosaurus tanneri front and center, but I'm seeing those Araucaria trees, and all I'm thinking of is Walking with Dinosaurs, the Death of a Dynasty. It just screams that. So it's going to be really cool to recreate Walking with Dinosaurs scenes with all these prehistoric plants. And you can see various cycads as well making up the forest floor here. It's going to be really nice. And this in particular really does remind me of paleo art I've seen of the Morrison Formation. So hopefully we can get a few more dinosaurs from that formation in the near future. So at the start of a challenge game, players will only have access to modern day Cenozoic plants, all the essentials you've come to know and love. This is great news for all the mammals in your park, but not so much for the dinosaurs. Luckily for them, the excavations menu is going to include Paleoflora sites from all over the world. Players will need to send out science teams and recover enough material to unlock 35 different species of extinct plants across all 8 biomes. Once unlocked, players will be able to find their newly discovered plants in both the modular building menu and the revised landscaping menu coming in Update 15. There are a lot of variants coming with these new species, so creative players will have plenty to work with. Inside an animal's info menu, you'll find the Paleoflora bar. As you might guess, this bar fills up by using plants from the correct era, depending on when an animal lived. Unlike other requirements like the forest or water needs, Paleoflora has no minimum value. Think of it more like a bonus to get the most out of your enclosures. Getting it wrong won't make your animals upset, but you'll be missing out on the key benefits that come with a high level of Paleoflora. Ecology bonus points increase the rating of your animal with an ecology bonus by getting its Paleoflora bar over 50%. Browsing enrichment. Herbivores gain additional enrichment when browsing from foliage in habitats in high flora. So, with high flora, I mean, but we'll be talking about that browsing in a second. Wellness increase. Once disease is added in a later update, high levels of Paleoflora will reduce how susceptible animals are to environmental diseases. Browsing is a new enrichment behavior coming in Update 15 that will allow herbivores to gain stimulation from grazing on bushes and trees. The more era-appropriate the foliage in their habitat is, the more enrichment they will receive. So I think this was a fairly highly requested feature, so it's going to be really cool to see animals like your Brachiosaurus browsing on the trees. I do, however, wonder whether the Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus, whether they were to browse on the tops of trees, whether they would rock back on their hind legs to get up to the highest branches. Because we don't have Diplodocus in, but they are diplodocids, so they are known to display that behavior, so it'd be really cool to see. Now, when I initially saw this image, I thought they were going to sneak in another Morrison dinosaur that we haven't got in the game yet, but they are just Dryasauruses. I was kind of keeping my eye out for a Stegosaurus or something, but yeah, we don't quite know when Stegosaurus is coming. Other than, I think they said it was going to be this year. So, yeah, keep your eyes open. But yeah, it looks really cool. Since browsing is not a substitute for feeders in challenge mode, we plan to include a sandbox option that allows herbivores to gain food while browsing, making them self-sustaining as long as they've got plants. This has been a highly requested feature from the community, so we're excited to finally work on it. And you can see here the Drysaurs, they certainly look happy and really well at home in this new Paleoflora environment, because yeah, you can just make some really cool prehistoric scenes with all these Paleoflora. And who knows, we may actually get more species in the future, but I mean, if they were to just stick with the ones that we have right now, I'd be fine. It would just be interesting to see whether they would add any more prehistoric plants, because there are a lot to choose from. As one of the last notes for this dev diary, there are some dietary changes coming in Update 15. First up, if an animal eats multiple diets, they're going to need them in the habitat to be happy. This change is meant to stimulate the logistics economy for making lesser used diets, like fruit, fish, or insects, more of a requirement than a suggestion in challenge mode. Exactly how many of the diets an animal wants in a habitat will be determined per species, with some being pickier than others. Oh no, we're going to have Koalasaurus. To help ease players into this new approach, some new feeders will be introduced in the upcoming update. The team is aiming to include small food trays, faux meat and fish carcasses, that sounds cool, and faux logs with fruits and insects to make your habitat planning more engaging. And hopefully this will be shown in a dev diary closer to the release. But yeah, that is sounding quite exciting. So we're going to get faux logs, so that basically what that means is fake logs stuffed with food for the animals, so they'll create some really unique behaviors. And the carcasses, that will be really interesting to see. I don't think it'll be dinosaur carcasses that they'll be using for the meat. I think might just be maybe a cow or a goat. Live prey, that would be something I'd be interested in seeing in Prehistoric Kingdom as well. Like, I know we have it in Jurassic World Evolution with the goats, but I would be interested in seeing, especially with the wetland update, maybe live fish being deposited into the water bodies inside the enclosures, something like a Spinosaurus, and maybe some goats, cattle, sheep. Although sheep are a bit woolly, I don't know how many animals would really like that. Or even just deer. But feral deer, or pigs even. There are lots of animals they could use for live prey. But small food trays, that will basically just make it a little bit more realistic for some animals to feed from. So your little Leelnosaura here, it'll make more sense for them to eat from a smaller food tray than something massive. So finally, if the first look at Paleoflora gameplay wasn't enough, there are a few more plants to check out. Below are 2 new species coming to the temperate biome, offering a variety of shapes and sizes. And the addition of a plain tree is going to get a lot of use from builders. So we have the platanites, which is your plain tree, and the trochodendroids. So these are both going to be in the temperate biome. And last but not least, there is a look at a tropical plant, a fossil cycad, Leptocycus, with variations on this one being particularly diverse, looking somewhat similar to a palm tree. However, cycads and palm trees, even though they look similar, they are not the same group. So it was a bit of a quicker one this time round, but certainly didn't shy away from giving us a lot of information of what we can expect in update 15. So I was about to say 14. I got so used to saying update 14 because we were waiting for it for such a long time. Yeah, so you've got the Paleoflora, Paleobotany being added, several new behaviours, the fleeing, the threat displays, the browsing, and feeding enrichment also coming in. But we do also have a new species being added in update 15, the Gallimimus. So I think that animal is still in the concept stage, so we probably won't be seeing it in action in the game for a little while yet. But they said that this update is possibly going to be releasing towards July, with a test branch probably releasing in June. Yeah, so possibly in the May dev diary we could get our first look at Gallimimus in game, potentially. Otherwise it could be in the June dev diary, who knows. But yeah, it's certainly a lot of things to look forward to. I do wonder how many more looks we'll get at update 16, because that one I am very excited for, as it's going to be introducing 3 new species, as well as animal combat, vets, animal death and illnesses. At least that's what I read. But yeah, Prehistoric Kingdom's future is getting more exciting by the dev diary. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. What is your favorite feature from this dev diary that was talked about? And what upcoming feature in update 15 is your favorite? You can be forgiven for saying Gallimimus, but I think the Paleoflora is possibly my favorite new feature coming in the update. New behaviors are also cool, but I think the Paleoflora is just going to be so very useful in creating some really cool looking habitats for your dinosaurs and prehistoric mammals. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I would love to hear yours in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video. See you later.